Okay, sounds good. Do you need help with anything? Well, I finished the one at the Northwest Corner. Thank you.
No, the incumbent is a lot better funded than $250,000. I don't know so I'm bare bones. Basically, me and a few of my friends do what we can to try
What's your elevator? What's your platform?
basically, I don't want to run negative, but I want to bring integrity back. I think there's too much where someone says one thing and does something else. I don't want to make everything happy. I know that's impossible.
this moving. We've got a good number of questions to ask. We'll start with introductions. And Dr. Wright over here, raise your hand. Dr. Wright is our timekeeper today, and she's going to keep this meeting going. So she's got cards there that say start, and then the 30 seconds, and then burn. Done. All right, we're moving on. So, yes. When you came in and signed up, you were given an index card. If you have a question that you would like to ask, if there's time, and we really handle the time, we nail it today. Then hopefully we'll get to some of those questions. All right. So, anyways, thanks to everybody for coming. We are really excited to get started. So I'm going to start over here to my left, your right, and we'll work across. You got 1 minute. Introduce yourselves and why you're running for city council.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Never introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Matt Truxell. I'm running for District 1, that's the northwest corner of Fullerton. I apologize, I'm very introverted, so I hate this, so bear with me as I scroll through. I'm here just for Fullerton. My family goes back history over 100, in Fullerton over 100 years. My grandparents moved here in the 1920s. My mom was born here. I was born in St. Jude. I raised my kid here, went through Fullerton schools, through kindergarten, through high school. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton with a degree in economics. And I just want to represent all the people of Fullerton. I think there's been too much people focusing on fundraising, getting donors, rather than what the people need. So that's really what I'm trying to bring to my campaign. One of my favorite quotes ever, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, is, if you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. And I want to bring integrity to Fullerton, to this position. And if you want to support me and want to know more about me, my website is map4fullerton.com. I'm also on Facebook and things. Follow me and shoot me an email or whatever. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Good afternoon. First, wanted to just thank the collaborative for hosting this program today and for having me. My name is Nick Dunlap, and I'm excited to run for re-election. I was born and raised in Fullerton, third generation Fullerton resident, now raising fourth generation. Actually, unfortunately, my youngest has to go to ukulele practice after school, but my wife and my 10-year-old will be here shortly thereafter. But really excited, just love Fullerton, a lot of pride in my hometown, and really just want to make sure that we have the right leaders in place to lead our city and to help to remember yesterday, plan for tomorrow, and make sure that we position ourselves and position our city to really be the great place that we all know and love to be.
Well, I thought I would be the old timer here, but when Matt starts talking about 120 years, I sort of shrivel up. August 1st, 1970 was the day that my family moved to Fullerton, so I've been here for 54 years. And during that time, my husband and I had a new home sales real estate company. I was a real estate broker for over 20 years, and then I decided that if my marriage was going to survive, we had to stop working together. So I went to law school, and for 35 years I was a family law attorney. Actually, I did divorce work, and I think that's kind of like an anti-family law attorney. But in any event, I felt like I could help people doing that, trying to keep them out of court, make their own settlements. And it has been very good training for my 14 years on the Fullerton City Council. I was the mayor in 1999, right at the turn of the century, or the 100-year turn. Anyway, my reason for running at this time, because I never intended to run for city council again, was my attendance at several city council meetings this past 8 months. And it was both the mayor rotation and what happened at that meeting, as well as the discordant way that the Union Pacific Trail was handled. Union Pacific Trail was approved by my council in 2019. And because when the new city council came on, that changed. And it was 5 years later before that UP trail was finally unanimously adopted by the city council. My belief is that the community was basically tortured over that. And it was only because of overwhelming community support for the UP trail. I keep waiting for you to put up a colored file. I would just, we can go as long as we want. Anyway, that's why, what I was seeing was that our city council was disrespectful and dismissive of the public. That is something that had never happened on my councils before. My colleagues were very collegial people who got up and spoke at public comments, knew that their concerns were heard. But when citizens feel like they haven't been heard, then they do not trust our city governance, and that's what I hope to change.
All right, thank you, Kitty. You got a minute, sorry, this is time as well.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Also, my name is Kitty Jaramillo. I was born and raised also in Fullerton. I grew up in the Maple community. I was the last sixth grade to attend Maple School before they shut it down because of segregation. So that was kind of a traumatic thing in our neighborhood. I work for the city, well, first, I have 2 children. I've been married 50 years already, 51 actually the other day. And I have 2 children that went all through the school system also, playing every sport you can name here in Fullerton. Rangers, West Fullerton Little League, high school, Fullerton Boosters, everything. My daughter was a dancer and a cheerleader, so attended all the dance studios here in Fullerton back in the day. And so I've been around a long time, involved in a lot of things, from sports to dance to any athletic you can think of. Anyway, but my career is working for the city. I worked here for Fullerton for, I'm up already? Jesus. Oh, God, Jen, you took all my time.
Okay, you get more. All right, Fred, you got 1 minute. Introduce yourself.
I will take it. I assure you. My name is Fred John. I'm the current council member of District 1. It's got a heavy Asian American population. I am the first Asian American candidate on the floor.
Can't hear you.
For 20 years. So, thank you, Ms. Floyd.
Speak louder, please.
Sure, I'll do my best. And representation matters, and I hope, again, as a city, we understand that there are critical communities in our city that require this kind of representation. I hope I'm fair to tell you that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, just so everybody in the room knows, our candidates were given the sheet with the questions that come from our 4 subcommittees that are part of the Fullerton Collaborative. So the questions will be coming from each one of those categories, and to start us off is David De Leon. Thank you. And then we'll start with you, Fred, this time. You'll answer first, and we'll go across, and each got a minute, and then we'll move forward from there. All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon for being here. I briefly want to share what the Next Gen Committee is. It is designed to build relationships and develop local goals and strategies to make collective impact to support the needs of youth. That's simply what we do. And we do that through working with the nonprofits that are here. For those of you that are here that don't know about us, I encourage you to reach out to Deborah. And we're going to be having our next meeting on September 25th, and she'll put you on the list. But now this leads to the question. In 2024, the City Council approved the restructuring of the Youth Advisory Committee, which is really important to Next Gen. And we were happy that we were included in the process. And I want to thank city staff and the city council for encouraging that. We really appreciate this, but it leads to my question now. What direction would you provide to city staff to ensure that the newly formed youth advisory committee is part of the discussion when considering items that impact them? And the second part is, how might you prioritize your city budget, the city budget, to ensure that youth preventative programs are considered?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I think for us, I would like to be as hands-off as can be. I think when, I'm pretty old in the tooth here, not long in the tooth, I'm fairly old. I don't know, although I'm raising 5 children, what it is to be a 16, 17, or 18-year-old in our community. And it'd be fairly disingenuous of me, I think, to act as I'm their voice, when realistically, I have a very hands-off view of their life based on their lived experience currently. And they are going through current challenges that my generation never had to go through, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I would like to see this community committee happen organically, bring us back suggestions on how we can best help our youth, how we can be a support system for them. I think that's a better way of organically doing this than us giving direction. Thank you, sir.
My turn. One, if you're long in the tooth, I'm toothless. But I do have my teeth, they're all over. So I agree with some of what Fred just said. I don't think we should be providing direction to the youth committee. I think we should be getting direction from the youth committee, listening to them, understanding. I think that's one of the things that us older folks need to do is listen to young perspectives, understand what they're coming from, what their issues are, and learn from them. I mean, one of the things that when I was managing people, I always figured the way to get the answers was to talk to the people in the details doing the job. In this case, it's the kids, the young people who are going through those things, letting them know what we need to do, and then helping them. Not that we can do everything, but helping them with their issues. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things for whether it's a council or a commission, really any body, is that those commissions are having the discussions and then bringing the important items forward. I previously served on the planning commission and also a county commission prior to getting elected to council. And so, I know what it's like to be part of those discussions where you're making recommendations that are then coming before the city council or other. So I think that's really important for me is that, not only do we as council members appoint the right, the right youth to lead, but they're in fact carrying those items forward so that we're able to enact the changes that they recommend for our city.
Mr. John, Julie Saul was our first Asian American on the city council.
I said first in 20 years.
And I know that because she beat me in 1992. Unforgettable. Anyhow, we're all agreed. What my direction to staff would be listen to the kids and from that formulate a plan that responds to what their needs are. So it sounds like we're all in agreement on that. Incidentally, the Youth Commission was approved in November 2020 and it took 4 years for it to be implemented. But the city council at the next meeting will be selecting the members that will people that commission, or youth advisory committee.
Well, I hate to be redundant, but yeah, it's, we do have to listen. I mean, what's the point of a youth committee if we're not gonna listen to what the youth say? We've been out of the school system for many years, so have most of our children, except for maybe done that. But his are little. But yeah, so that's gonna be the most important thing, is listening to them and see what they have to say, because they're the ones that know, they're the ones living it. They know what they wanna know about, not what we think they should know. They know what they wanna know about. So that's what we have to keep open, those lines of communication with them. And kind of like Nick said, that we let them run the show and then come forward with any of their concerns or things they wanna ask council or things they wanna do or implement. Yeah, that's very important.
All right, well done. Our next question asker is Dr. Morris from the Fullerton School District, known as so many affectionately here.
Thank you. All right, and I'm also on the board of the Fullerton Collaborative. I'm very excited to be here today. So welcome to everybody. It's wonderful to see such a full house. So to our candidates today, I have 2 questions for you. I will ask the first question and we'll go around the line. You'll each have 1 minute, and then I will ask the second question and you'll have 1 minute, okay? So our first question, what role do you see the city playing in supporting policies and programs that address children who are not yet ready for kindergarten? And what types of policies and programs would you support?
And Matt, you'll go first on that one.
Thank you for the question. Sorry. This one actually hits home with me. I think with the pandemic especially, there's a lot of kids who miss socialization and things when they were isolated. My great niece is one of those people who's just entering kindergarten now and is struggling a little bit, needing some extra support. And I think we need to bring that support to our kids. And there's things like the preschools, we know they're showing Head Start, help people throughout their lives if they get those early. I'm only got 30 seconds, I got it. But I'm sorry, I lose my train of thought. So I think we need to support those kids. What programs are exactly, I don't know at this point. I think I need to get into office, figure out what we have, what budget is available and things. But I do think getting our kids started right is one of the most important things we can do. Thank you.
Just to clarify, can you repeat the question, please?
What role do you see the city playing in supporting policies and programs that address the children who are not yet ready for kindergarten? What types of policies and programs would you support?
Okay, great. I think this is an interesting one because, again, as a father of 2 young children, we're always looking around at the different programs and resources that are available in the community. And I think that one of the biggest changes that we as a council have made is that we've expanded the Parks and Rec department. And I think in last week's mail, you probably received a copy of the Fullerton Connect magazine that highlights all of the different programs and activities that are available. And if you look around, there's a number of different programs that are targeted to preschool, TK, kindergarten, and so many young children across the community. And the fact that we have access to these programs, that we've decided to actually fund and offer these programs through the Parks and Rec department, I think this is a great opportunity, and this is exactly what the city should be doing to help sort of supplement the great services provided by our school district.
Well, we're sure thinking alike. I think you and I would work well together on the council. Too bad we're running against each other. This is Fullerton Connect that Nick was just referring to, and I coincidentally received this in the mail the same day that I got the questions emailed to me. And in going through page 3, there's a little, they highlight the youth programs. And there's little learners for kids 3 to 5, My Little and Me Craft Time for kids 2 to 5. There's a number of tutorial programs, but I understand that we're doing this for kids before they get into kindergarten. But I was surprised that these many programs were offered by our city Parks and Recreation Department. And our city libraries also do the same. Hunt Branch has picked up a lot of slack in serving children in those communities. And the main library has an excellent children's library where there are all kinds of different events at different times. That's what the city's doing now. Would you repeat? No.
Well, I of course, my kids are old. So, I don't even know. I just heard of TK about a month ago. I didn't even know there was a TK. I thought, oh my gosh, what a great program that is. So I think the city can support whatever the school district comes with. Who is not gonna be willing to support the toddlers and pre-K kids that are coming into kindergarten? Come on. I mean, that's like a no-brainer in the support that the council should show to any kind of viable program that's gonna help the children thrive.
I'll take a fairly personal angle at this. My grandson is one of the first students involved in the Laguna Road School Immersion Program. So he is being versed not only in English, but also in Korean. And I think it is that kind of diversity that makes Fullerton just awesome. We are a incredible snapshot of what makes America great. All the wonderful things, our diversity here, and the way in which we embrace all cultures and all people. But I think having more of these dual immersion programs are the future of what education should be, so we can get all of our children to be as diverse as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to our second question. We are recording, so nice loud voices. Everybody, your microphone nice and pulled up. Can everybody hear in the background? Really nicely? Okay, great. So we will start with Nicholas Dunlap for our second question that I have. In what ways could the city and school districts work collaboratively to improve education outcomes?
So I'm gonna brag for a second because we're a second generation Fullerton School District family. And I've been exposed obviously to, the schools that we went to, that my kids go to. But as mayor this year, I had the opportunity to participate in a number of different school tours and programs, not just with the superintendent, but with some of the trustees, including those who are in attendance today. And we've really had an opportunity not just to, I think, highlight and support some of those resources, but to take it a step further and participate in the fundraising efforts for things like the Tiny Home Project at Nicholas Junior High, to participate with the Orange Grove Elementary School, breakfast and classroom program, to try to help get additional attention to that from, not just the state level, but federal level as well, where there are additional funding resources available, but also just to celebrate the very unique things that make our schools so special and so impactful on our youth. It's really, I think it's a great testament to our community. And it's no surprise that every time, our schools are in the news, I'm getting emails or articles, texted or sent to me, highlighting how special they are. I think we have a really important role as a community to help support those schools, and that's all I need to do.
In my answer to the previous question, I outlined several ways in which the city, library, and the Parks and Rec Department are currently collaborating with the schools, and Nick has just introduced a new menu of activities in which the city collaborates with Fullerton Collaborative as well as the school districts, and I would support any of those programs and to be continued.
I agree with, what Jan said. I mean, it's, like I said before, it's so important for the city, council and, for the school trustees and the district to work together. I mean, that's what we have to do. I think a novel thing to do would be for a council member to attend the collaborative meetings. Rotate that around, because when I've come to collaborative, I've come just a few times in my lifetime. And it's mostly all school people here, right? Teachers and school district people, and this is where you need to come to learn what's going on with the school districts. So I think that could be something implemented on our city council.
See, in the late 80s, when I was a student at Sunny Hills High School, I think the Asian American population there was about 30%, close to 70 now. And my, middle son and middle daughter attend Sunny Hills now. The collaboration that exists between our city and our school district, there always is this kind of uniquely thin line, I suppose, but it could always be better in terms of our collaboration. I think it's unique to see when you go abroad, particularly in Korea, how well known Fullerton is by its school district. And I gave a lot of kudos to its elementary school district earlier in the last question. But its high school district is off the charts popular. Troy High School is there's only two others in the county of Orange and LA that get this kind of recognition. That's Whitney and Oxford Academy in Cyprus. But Troy is one along with Sunny Hills. We should be proud of that and promote that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One, I'm really happy to hear all the collaboration that's already going on. I agree with Fred and others. The school district here is awesome. That's why I sent my kid here. But there's always ways we can make it better. And I think as far as collaboration, I think Kitty had a good point. Going actually as a city council, meeting with the school board, meeting with the principals. I'm glad to hear you attended, school tours and things. And actually even taking it down to the level of teachers and parents and kids to understand what are your needs, what are ways we can help. And I'm new to this whole thing, so I can't tell you exactly what all the programs are that we can put in. But again, let's listen to people, let's get the input from everyone, regardless of their race, nationality, or whatever, and understand what we can do to help everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to our candidates. I'm going to turn it back to Jay Williams.
Leanna.
Before turning it over to Leanna, I welcome everybody. My name is Leanna Fortucci. I was the board chair of the collaborative for many, many years, and I'm still on the board. Thank you very much. Jane and I are sharing roles today. So our next person that's going to be asking questions is another one of our board members, is Lisa McPherson, representing Pathways of Hope, and she is the director of organizational advancement for that nonprofit, and she will be addressing questions around homelessness.
Thank you. Just to let you know about our homelessness subcommittee, we're focused on 3 areas, education, collaboration, and advocacy. Our committee is changing its meeting time to every 4th Thursday at 10 o'clock. We'll be meeting at St. Andrews. It's really, we're kind of restarting this committee. We think there are 3 important topics to collaborate and discuss and figure out how members of the collaborative can contribute to kind of solutions in our community. And so with that, Ms. Fuller will have the first, I'm not sure if we're on first name basis today, so I'm gonna go formal.
I'm a Jan.
You're Jan, okay, all right, I'll go on first name if that's okay with you. Our first question, and I'll be asking to the group, what role do you believe the city council has in addressing homelessness in the city?
Well, the city has a very outsized role in dealing with the issue of homelessness. In 2019, 2020, 3 navigation centers were approved of not in the city of Fullerton. One was in the city of Fullerton by the airport, the second one was in Boyna Park, and the third one in Placentia. But that significantly reduced the incidence of homelessness in our city. In addition, my council approved affordable housing with supportive services at 1600 West Commonwealth. When the new council came in, elected in late 2020, they decided to reissue an RFP for the site, delaying the approval of affordable housing for at least 5 years, but now that project is permitted and ready to begin construction. In addition, as the last thing, under the direction of our police chief, Bob Dunn, the Hope Center was approved by the council, which has been very helpful in sending out social workers with the police in certain situations.
Jan stole my thunder regarding the Hope Center. I was just speaking to one of the lieutenants regarding the Hope Center, asking him, because I live, of course, in Southwest Fullerton. That's between Euclid and from Euclid all the way west to the end of the city, where we meet and run into Boyna Park. But I was telling him that I've seen a big difference in District 5 at Harbor and Orangethorpe regarding the homeless population there. And I said, is it the Hope Center that's working? Is something really working and helping this situation, besides, of course, the Pathways, which I've supported ever since their inception. And I was even on their board for a while, but I was too busy. So, but yeah, he said that it's working. It still needs, it just started a couple of years ago, I think, the Hope Center. But I'm imagining it's gonna get bigger and bigger and better and better.
Homeless encampments cost our city almost $200,000 a year, And while our resources are finite in terms of our city, and the state has obvious budgetary challenges currently. I find that it's unconscionable that the county continues to bungle homelessness in the way that it does. Be Well has been a disaster, and they've spent billions of dollars on Be Well. And now they turned out it wasn't an effective program. They're now shifting that program elsewhere. We have to hold our elected officials, all of us, including myself and our council members, accountable for housing affordability and the obvious rise in homelessness. Thank you.
Okay, I want to second things like Pathways of Hope and the Hope Center. Those are great things. My wife danced for the Pathways of Hope last year to raise some money and things. And so there's a lot of different individual groups who are doing things to help. I think one of the things we can do is try to bring those groups together and coordinate a little better. And not just in the city of Fullerton, because it's not a Fullerton problem. It's a California, an Orange County problem, a national problem. And I think we can't just play whack-a-mole and knock somebody out of here and then it pops up somewhere else. So I think we need to bring groups together and look at what's been done around the country and around the world. What programs have worked, which ones haven't. And if they haven't worked, then let's stop that. Let's find those ones that do work. And if I had more time, I'd tell you about some of the research I've done, but I think I'm just about out of time. So thank you.
All right, so I would just say, I think now we've got a lot of the infrastructure in place, right? We have shelter, we've said yes to affordable housing, people are actually building affordable housing. And at the same time, we now have also the resources available to our law enforcement officers to help these folks get off the street, get into shelter beds, and in some cases find, permanent housing, even supportive housing in some cases, as needed. It's interesting, I was talking to an officer not too long ago, and he was explaining to me that they had found a veteran on the street, and he needed a copy of a social security card in order to get into affordable housing. And I didn't realize that was something that actually our police officers are spending the time to go help these people do so that they can get off the street. But I say that because you can imagine the time that it took for this officer to pick up this individual, go to get a copy of the social security card, and then ultimately go and get access to the support and resources that they needed. So I think the important thing is that now we have the infrastructure in place. It's really incumbent upon the council to compete for the various funding sources that are available, whether that's through grants, whether that's through county, state, and federal funding that's available.
I'm gonna do a quick time check too. Are we okay for a second? Yeah. All right, so we'll do the second question, and this one would be for Ms. Jaramillo, and this, we're on a first name basis too. Kitty, okay. All right. Thank you. All right, the second question related to homelessness is, what strategies would you support to increase affordable housing and assist communities or residents in accepting permanent supported housing or shelters in their neighborhoods? And I can repeat that.
Well, we've always been, Fullerton has been behind the 8 ball for affordable housing for many, many years. I think we've even paid fines to the feds for being behind the curveball regarding that. So I think things are happening now, but of course, it has to continue. We have to keep on building. There's more building to do here to provide affordable housing. And maybe something else that we need to do is to look at rent control. Once you get into affordable housing, how about rent control? I mean, that's killing people, especially our young adults. It's just too high. I know that Pathways mostly helps families. Is that correct? I mean, that's what I understand. And I just love it. I'm constantly referring people to them, because if they're a homeless couple or a man or a woman with children, Pathways is the key to their salvation, I feel.
Right here, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think for us, we've got to do a much better job in advocating for developers to build affordable housing. They can take advantage of density bonuses that exist, the parking incentives that they have. being close to transportation center. But as a council, we can always sit there and advocate for more affordable housing. Is there 20% affordability? Is there 10%? Is it a single digit? That's up to council to direct staff to get more. I think we can always do more of that. It's the issue for us is, we're an older city, and as a result, amassing these parcels to get any type of multi-unit housing together is a very difficult challenge for most developers. Most parcels that we have in the city are very fragmented and would take a great deal of work to be able to amass, to even do a, medium-sized project. So when we have that opportunity, we certainly have to take advantage of it. Thank you.
Okay, affordable housing is really an oxymoron in Orange County. I just am looking at just housing prices, and Fullerton is actually low on the list as far as how expensive it is. We're like 29th out of about 40 cities in Orange County, and our median price is still over $1 million. So it's really hard to get affordable housing in here. And I agree with Brad and some of these others that some of these things, getting places, it's hard to find the parcels to build those spaces. And I think we need to be creative. Sometimes maybe not necessarily affordable housing, but maybe things like bring portable showers and laundry into a park so people can get themselves cleaned up enough that they can go to a job interview and maybe then get enough to get themselves out of some of these holes. And other ideas. But I do agree with you that I think we need to get some of these, get some incentives to build more affordable housing and so on. And we're out of time, so thank you.
Time and time again, I think the studies show that really the only way to address housing affordability challenges facing so many, not just across the country, here in Orange County as well, is to build. And I think that's one thing that our council has said yes to housing. We've allowed, we've worked with, developers who are building for sale housing, whether that's under Rosecrans and Euclid. We've worked with the groups that are building student housing over by Cal State Fullerton. We've also worked with the folks who are building, purpose-built affordable housing at 1600 West Commonwealth. And as we continue to do that, we're also in the process of, completing an inventory of city-owned parcels that are on the surplus land list, controlled by the city. And so these are sites where, developers, private developers, and this is in accordance with state law, can actually reach out to the city to express their interest in potentially completing an affordable housing project. I know I've had several meetings with some of the faith-based organizations here in the city who are looking to take advantage of recent state law changes that actually allow churches to build affordable housing on their surplus property. So I think these are some of the creative resources that not just we as a city can, help with the city-owned parcels, but also working with some of these privately owned parcels as well. Because the reality is, this is a very complicated situation. It's not unique to Fullerton, and we absolutely have to take a leadership role in addressing this issue.
Building on what Mayor Dunlap just was talking about, one very important tool is we have to prioritize affordable housing, and that priority is generally memorialized in the housing element of our general plan. Our housing element is 2 years out of date, and it is for that reason that we cannot direct developers who want to build affordable housing to state resources that might be available to encourage a developer to consider building affordable housing. Another fertile area is the ADU units, the accessory dwelling units that state law now permits that if you have a large enough backyard, you can put a small house. Actually, my niece is building one in Tustin right now, and it's not that small. It's 1,500 square feet. But we need to streamline our city processes so that the permitting and approval of the plans is more streamlined and easier to get and cheaper.
Thank you much, Lisa, for those questions and for answering questions for our homelessness task force. Next, we're going to move on to our health and wellness subcommittee chair, who is Peter Hernandez from St. Jude. And I'll introduce him now, and he will be asking you questions based around health and wellness in our city.
Good afternoon, everyone. Peter. Just a quick description of what our health and wellness subcommittee focuses on. We really focus on using a multi-dimensional approach to really improve public health in the city of Fullerton. And so we really look at environment, infrastructure, and policy that will make the healthy choice the easy choice. With that said, that brings me to our question. And so, Fred, what are some strategies that you would support that would enhance the city's policies and built-in environment to make the healthy choice the easy choice? Do you currently have any projects in mind or currently working on any projects that will support that?
I think for us, we have to recognize that there are communities that have a pretty large disparity from one to another. I think it's fairly easy for us to live within our silos and think that our lived experience is similar to everyone else. It's just not. There are folks that live in District 1 that probably just drive through District 4. And those District 4 residents are impacted daily by freeway traffic that degrades their air quality and their quality of life. So there are things that we have to do better at, and there's things that we have to immediately triage. And there are communities of great concern in our city that require some immediate attention. Communities in District 4 and District 5 come to mind immediately for me, and even District 3 with the 57 freeway. So knowing that there are communities that need attention allows us to seek input from those communities and develop programs that make sense for them.
Thank you. This one's a passion for me. Health and wellness, exercise, eating right, those are things that I live. And another one of my passions I read a lot is about behavioral science and different things you can do to influence behavior. So an example of a behavioral science study they did was in kids in school cafeterias. They did a simple thing, little nudges, where they moved the fruits and the healthy food up to the top of the front of the list, made it more apparent, and moved the chips and cookies down farther. And they got a lot more people eating healthy. So those types of things, and I think we can spread that throughout the community of finding little ways to not force people to improve, but give them incentives and little nudges to help them improve. I think I'm just out of time, so thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna look at the question here. Okay, so, time's up. No, I think, one thing we've done as a council, and I think this is something we've been very supportive of our public parks and our open spaces. And I think this is an area that's absolutely critical as we continue to plan. And, there's a reference made to the housing element earlier. And I think that's been something that we've tried to work with staff to make sure that because of the number of units that our city was forced to zone for in the future, that we're also accounting for and planning for open space, so that we don't just have, this completely built out environment, with a bunch of tall buildings and an absence of open space. We're really trying to make sure that there are still parks, that there's trails, and there are systems available for these folks to get outside, to be active, and still live a healthy life.
Well, one thing the current council did that was a rah-rah sis boom bah was the approval of the UP Trail. That provides a great deal more of exercise close to our urban center downtown area. I'm a walker myself, and I walk 2.5 to 3.5 miles 5 days a week at least. One thing that would be very useful to me, and something I worked with Hugo Curiel on prior to his leaving the city, is a decent trail map of our existing trails. There are trails in the city that I'm not quite sure how to access them, particularly those in the northwest corner of the city. But the problem with the UP Trail was it had been approved in 2019 and 2020, and it took 5 years to come to fruition with a great deal of torture to the community. But Anyway, thank you.
Well, I never thought I'd say this, but I agree with Fred regarding the ethnicities and the different lifestyles of different families. We eat a lot of, I cook a lot of Mexican food at home. That's what my kids grew up with. And so the balance to that is exercise. So the parks come into play in Southwest. If you live in Southwest or drive through there, it's very lacking in everything. It has had no attention whatsoever over there. We have abandoned storefronts. We have parks that are dirty or no lighting. So many things are wrong in District 4. It's like the lost section of our city. So what we need to do is look towards that, make the parks inviting to everybody to come, for kids to play on the equipment that's there. Everything is there for them. We just need to make it, enlightening to them to come.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter. So, we have one more question that we have time for, because we still need to do our closing statements, and I want to give everybody time for their closing statements. And I did want to pull at least one question from the audience. And this one was directed at one council member, but I'm gonna open it to all and kind of restate it in a way that's open to all. Bringing cannabis dispensaries to Fullerton was brought to city council some time ago, and during that time, there was a lot of public opposition, especially in our lower economic community. If elected and this came to vote again, would you vote to bring cannabis to Fullerton? And we are starting with Nick for this question.
No. I think that in our discussions, in my meetings with a lot of the community groups and the stakeholders, I just don't feel that it's right. I think if these businesses want to come to Fullerton and it's something that they feel so, they're so adamant about coming here against the wishes of the community, then they should force a ballot initiative and they can go that route. But it's not something I think we should plan for. Certainly not in the version of the ordinance that came forward, the ridiculous maps that we're trying to force it into retail locations. I think the important thing to point out here is that our city is really in the midst of a development boom, where we've got currently $2.5 billion in projects underway that includes commercial, residential, industrial, and retail. And so we have these projects that are actually coming to our city, doing great things that are going to cause a boom in our tax revenue. They're going to create new jobs, and they're going to create new Fullerton residents. And I think the important thing to remember here is that the activity that we are generating from all of that development, I think is going to dwarf what we're going to see from any kind of cannabis activity. And to think that we would somehow make these short-sighted development-related decisions based on cannabis is just, to me, it's foolish.
I was on the council and I voted to support the retail sales of cannabis in the city. And one of the reasons was we had at the time a huge proliferation of illegal outlets for cannabis. Those illegal outlets were selling stuff, God knows what it was laced with, and it was being sold to anybody. No paying attention to how old kids were, et cetera, et cetera. I checked with people in Santa Ana, because Santa Ana was one of the first Orange County cities, and I spoke with Ben Sarmiento, who was on the city council at that time, and they had effectively gotten rid of all of their illegal dispensaries through the regulation of a couple of well-placed dispensaries there. So that was what operated in favor of my decision to support it. I don't know if that situation continues to exist today. If it does not, then I think I would agree with Nick on his position.
First, I knew this was gonna be a hot button question. But what I worry about right now is the 12 or 13, I get a regular count from different people who tell me how many illegal cannabis shops we have here already in Fullerton. And I think we're up to 13. And it's like whack-a-mole. Code enforcement goes out, tries to shut them down, and they're tying up 2 or 3 police officers at the location. It's not an easy thing, but my goal when I get on city council is to go after the illegal shops, because there's no control of these illegal shops. Those are the ones that parents need to be worried about, not the legal cannabis stores, if we ever get them in here. That's gonna help our city immensely financially, but I don't know if it'll ever pass. But they are regulated to the hilt, if anybody knows. Oh, my time's up.
No, we can't be an education city and also sell and advocate for the sale of cannabis in our state. Those two just don't fit together in my mind or my morality. Thank you.
Okay, Fullerton has some budget shortfalls, and cannabis is legal in California. I'm not a big advocate of it, but I think controlled, and I think I agree. Right now, we're spending money to chase down these whack-a-mole, these illegal dispensaries. Santa Ana, in the first 4 years they sold legal cannabis, brought in $50 million in tax revenue. Now, we're not gonna bring in that much, we're a smaller city and things, but rather than try to spend money to chase these illegal dispensaries that are still operating, wasting money from our city, I think we should control it, make sure we're putting them in places that make sense. But we're an education city, we have liquor stores all over, we have bars all over. Cannabis, to me, is less problematic, in my opinion. So I would support bringing it in a controlled manner.
Thank you very much for answering that question. And I'm so sorry, audience, we are running a couple minutes late for our closing statements, but we're gonna go ahead and start with our closing statements with Ms. Lori.
Here is a last question. How do you plan to collaborate with colleagues to serve the greater good of the
We
community?
ran out of time.
Oh, we're not doing it. Okay.
But we're still gonna go over with just the closing statements.
Okay.
But we promised our guests we would I wanted to honor at least one question from the audience over our questions.
Okay, all right, I didn't understand that. I'm running for city council, as I said at the beginning, because I have noticed a distinct, inability of some of our city council members to listen to the public. I get nervous going up before city council, even today, after having served 14 years on the city council. I can only imagine how a Spanish-speaking lady, and thank God for Egla Nancy, who has really activated her neighborhood and gotten a community that did not have a voice. She, and through the work of Ahmad Zara, have given Districts 4, District 5 a voice that they had not had prior to in our city. I would do everything I could to encourage that, but I think it's disrespectful and dismissive of council members to not look at the members of the public who are speaking and be diddling around on their electronic devices during the public hearing.
Of course, I have to concur with Shannon. Especially regarding all of us who have our phones, who have our iPads, and we're easily distracted just like the kids are. And we have to have some control up there on the dais. We have to show respect. I don't know how many times I've spoken in front of city council, and it still makes me nervous to go up there. So imagine if it's your first time, you've never spoken up there, and you have to speak about something that's wrong or that's important to you or whatever it may be. How awful it is to stand there and nobody's looking at them. No, they don't even know if you're listening to them. It's ugly. It's an ugly feeling. And that's what goes on up there. Not from Nick though. Nick is giving a lot of attention, I gotta say, lately. But yeah, the change is needed up there. I'm running for District 4. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank the Fullerton Collaborative, its membership, for allowing us and affording us an opportunity to bring our views to members of the public. Thank you for your continued good work. Fullerton's made a lot of progress in the last 4 years. We've stabilized our public safety, encouraged our municipal workers to retain talent, and we've made wonderful hires at the city that continue the progress of the city forward. And I look forward to continuing that for the next 4 years.
Yeah, again, I'd like to reiterate that. Thank you all for inviting us here. I think things like the Fullerton Collaborative are really great for the community. And I did like the last question, I'm sorry, we didn't get to it, of how can we work together for the greater good of Fullerton? And I think that's what I want to do, is not work for District 1, but work for all of Fullerton. And whether that's District 1, 2, 3, 4, see what we can do as city council, not to say what's best for me or what's best for my donor, but what's best for the people in the city of Fullerton overall. And I think if we come at it with that attitude, then we're gonna talk to each other, and we won't always agree, that's fine, but we can talk to it and be respectful of each other, and then work together to come to solutions for the community. Thank you.
I want to thank the collaborative for putting together this program, and the past 4 years, I think we've really worked together to change a number of things in the city. We've been able to improve the city's financial position to an extent. We've been able to increase the credit rating, the city's credit rating, and not only that, we've actually been able to restore some of the beloved community programs that had been cut by previous councils. Brought back the 4th of July program, we brought back our First Night program, and we've continued to celebrate a lot of our, the deep roots and history that we have here in the city. And, it's a life honor, my life honor, to be able to serve my hometown. And I hope that I'll be reelected to do that and serve you all for another 4 years, to make sure that we can continue to make our hometown thrive. Thank you.
And a special thanks to all of you. If we can all put our hands together for all of our candidates. And as
Save the walk on Wilshire.
As a reminder, we do have these QR codes placed throughout. These are our statements from all of our candidates, even the candidates that weren't available to be here today for this forum, so you could check those out. Really quick, we do have a raffle, I believe. I have to get my ticket. I want to go to the gala. I love to get dressed in it.
Okay, so Fullerton Education Foundation, I'm honored to be its president for 19 years. I'm Hilda Sugarman. We've given close to $3.5 million to teachers and programs in our schools. And we raise the money, mostly we raise the money through a gala every year. This year, it's the 28th of this month. The theme is disco. So get your groove on. And who wants to pick the winning ticket for one free admit? Oh, Eric, you looked up. You're going to pick. I'm not getting in trouble. Okay, you ready? 7. How many have 7? 2. 1. 1. Look at your education. No all those numbers. 3. Ready? 6. 7, 2, 1, 1, 3, 6. Are they here? Okay.
Well, maybe ours. I don't know about mine's
anyone to feel cheated? Go ahead, get some.
I know, but I mean, well, we could get it.
Da, 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 da. Here we go. 7, 2, 1, 1, 2, 8. 7, 2, 1, 1, 2, 8. Are these mystery tickets? Do we have a winner? Do we have a winner up there? Who stuffed this thing? We need a different paper, right? You wanna pick one? I think it's gonna start with 7211, just a guess. The last two digits are 14, 14.
I have, read that again, please?
721 114.
Oh my
Okay, I'm gonna get your name and your phone number, and you have a free night on September 28th. Woo-hoo! Thank you all for participating.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. We look forward to seeing you next month. We will have another full candidate forum next month.